What's up out there? So to quickly recap my plans for this league and catch you up in case you haven't been following it. If you've been following it, you know where I'm at. But what I wanted to do with this league is try all the different ascendancies out, just start with a blank slate and try different skills, try different ascendancies just to see what works and how all the different things get put together. Just basically a giant learning experience across the entire spectrum, basically. And one of the things when I was cooking up ideas, I was looking at the different ascendancies and trying to figure out what I would do with them. One of the things that the idea that came to mind was a movement-based build, kind of like a meme or something. Take like Flame Dash or something, 6-link it and just try to do as much damage as possible with it and just have fun. And that was something I came up with early on. And the next thing that came about was that I found this bronze live somewhere in the league. I found a couple of these, so I've got an extra one. I may have found a third or fourth one, I'm not sure, but I feel like I found quite a few of these things so far. What these offer you is a lot of evasion. They're higher level, but they also give you +5 level of socketed movement gems, increased attack speed, a lot of increased damage with movement skills, big increased evasion rating, and increased movement speed. And then to kind of go off the meme, I found out that Cyclone is a movement skill. And I thought, you know what, that would be really cool is to be able to, that just dovetails right into everything I wanted to do was instead of making it like a meme build, this might actually be something good and worth trying out. So what I've worked on is, this is a Slayer, and I've got it up to, what are we on? Level 35. We're in Act 4. I kind of stalled out at this point. If I go into Calm Stronghold here, yeah, I was just in here a minute ago. But I basically stalled out at this point. There's, like this thing here. It's tough to kill. I'm not doing very much against it. I'm taking a lot of damage from it. And it's just not pleasant. And this is kind of where I ran into. Yeah, I'm killing stuff, but it's fairly slow and it's taken a while. I need to really work on this. Dual wielding is probably not the way to go. I probably want to do like an axe or something with it. But that's kind of where I stalled out with it. I did get it through labs, and fighting Exile or whatever his name is was kind of funny, and I learned something on that. So if this is like the pad that Exile spawns in on, he'll come in here. A lot of times I'll sit way out and maybe leap slam into him or something like that. And I noticed if you start out farther away, he will instantly leap slam. If you start off really close to him, and like I was doing this Cyclone on him, it took a while to chip away his health off of him, but staying up close, he never jumped and did a leap slam. He just kind of stood there, and I don't know if I was stunning him or, but he didn't really do a lot of the different abilities that he's got, just sitting right on top of him. So I'm enjoying this skill, but in the course of working up to this, and this is the passive tree that I've got, there's a lot of increased attack speed over here. I took some mana regen because I was really low on mana early on, but I also came over here to like Fleet Foot for increased evasion and movement speed and things like that. I think I was trying to go for all evasion gear for the most part, but I kind of got a little squishy. I know my life needs to be improved. I know there's a lot of things wrong with this build probably, and I worked on some dual wielding. That's probably not the way to do it. I probably want to do a single weapon or something like that, probably a two-handed sword. I don't know that I want block on here. I'm not sure. It's like totally in development. I started with a blank slate and just kind of moved forward, but I've picked up some things for leeching and stuff. There's a lot of cool things on here that I started down the path. Like for the Ascendancy, I started down Brutal Fervor and probably go to Endless Hunger. But then there's things like Masterful Form where you get frenzy charge, or endurance charges are equal to your frenzy charges. That would be really cool. Impact, where you've got global accuracy. I don't know how much accuracy is going to matter on this. I don't know that this needs accuracy necessarily, but impact might be kind of cool because you increase your melee strike range. Now, this is an attack and not necessarily a strike, so I don't know if I'm going to get caught up on those little keywords that kind of mess me up. But with this one, you do get area of effect, increased area of effect per enemy killed, which would be cool because that would increase the, as far as I understand, it would increase the, the spread of this thing. Plus deal 15% more melee damage based on proximity. I think that would be good. But then you've got like Overwhelm. Nearby enemies have minus 30% critical strike multiplier, 10% to crit multiplier per nearby enemy, up to 100%. Base critical strike chance for weapons is 8%, so like that's cool. Like there's a lot of possibilities here, and you can always go to Headsman, which is an amazing one to get. You know, like you get 10% more damage if you've killed recently, cannot take reflected damage, stuff like that. That would be really cool. But then Headsman, you get this 20% cull, which is great. Gain 10% increased attack speed for 20 seconds when you kill a rare or unique enemy. Increased movement speeds when you kill an enemy. Like this would, like there's so much here that I think would synergize with this fairly well. In my opinion, I don't know. I've seen, watched somebody's video recently talking about Cyclone, and they said it wasn't that great of a skill, but I don't know, it was just something I wanted to tinker around with. So I got it up to this point. In getting this one up to here, I worked on Splitting Steel a little bit, and I ended up taking Splitting Steel into not Champion, but Gladiator, because I was working on the bleed. So let's talk about that one. This is like a tale of two different builds. And this was the first build. I got this one up to a point, stalled out, didn't feel like tinkering with it any further. Really liked Splitting Steel and went with that. So let's look at Splitting Steel. So as mentioned, as I was building up that Slayer build, I tried Splitting Steel and I really liked it because that was the skill that I started off that character with. And then once I was able to switch over to Cyclone, I kind of switched over to it and I got stalled out. With this one, I like this a lot. Now you can see I got a whole bunch of sockets free. I still don't quite have this build where I don't know what I want to do with this build. And quite honestly, I think I'm kind of tapped out where this build is going to go as far as Splitting Steel is. I'm running Splitting Steel with Impale, Vicious Projectiles, Brutality, Cruelty, and Chance to Bleed. So that seemed to be a good combination. We're doing a lot of Impales. I know the tooltip is not accurate, but I've got 17.9 on DPS for this. It says straight out says impales enemies on hit. If I take this impale support out, it says 40% chance to impale. If I put that in, it straight up impales. So I was kind of tinkering around with impale. This is probably going to be a far better on a champion because I think you get extra impale stuff on it. I'll probably rework this on my champion. I did stub off a champion build and stalled out. I think I want to do Splitting Steel and probably take the things that I've learned from this build, maybe some of the gear from it, and move it over to the champion side. So I may rework this somewhere else. As far as a bleed part goes, this is okay. It's not great. What do we got? Leap, Slam, Vulnerability, Blood and Sand. I got increased area of support. I've got +2 level of socketed AoE gems, so I put Leap, Slam, Vulnerability, and that stuff on here, so we get extra levels from it. Same thing with the helmet. I've got +2 level socketed aura gems, +2 to level of socketed aura gems. So we've got Purity Elements to fix some resistance parse, Clarity, Vitality. Those are all plussed up. Then we've got Molten Shell, Phase Run, and Automation. That's like my standard anymore. And I know it's squishy. It's only got 2,000 life. It is very low on life. I tried to fix as much of that as possible. And I was running all evasion gear for a while. I switched over to armor and evasion, which didn't seem to make a ton of difference. And then I've kind of got a mixture of, I had a 6-linked this astral plate. So I rolled this thing. I put all the implicits and stuff on here from the Exarch and Eater stuff. And that's kind of where I've got it. This build is not necessarily where it's ran its course. I'm kind of done with it. It's fun. It's kind of cool. I like what it's doing, but it's not going to scale up. I don't think this is going to scale up very far. And quite honestly, I think, like I said, it's kind of ran its course. I think what I want to do with this, being that I have, I guess we could look at the passive tree. So I kind of took the parts from the Slayer build that I started off with. So we've got coming through here to attack speed. I found out increased attack speed works really well. So we've got Art of the Gladiator, Bravery, Master of the Arena. Of course, I came down here for Spirit Void and Vitality Void for Life and Leech. I also came over here, Leader of the Pack, for reservation efficiency, and I'm still kind of low on that. Came over here. I went, well, I'll get to that in a second, but we've got Martial Experience for two-handed weapons. We've got Spirit of War for the reduced mana and increased reservation efficiency. I've got Wicked Blade for increased damage with bleeding and bleed duration. I took all of Bloodletting, that whole wheel. We've got Crimson Dance. We've got Merciless Skewering for more impale. Bastion Breaker for all the damage and stuff we get from that. There's also damage over time multiplier for bleeding per impale on enemy. If you're wondering why I mixed bleeding and impale, it's because of that. I was going to put a point into that at some point. We've got Golem's Blood and Cloth and Chain. I kind of put those in here yesterday when I got done. Brutal Skewering for impales lasting, impales you inflict lasting an additional hit. We've got Feller of Foes for axe damage and stuff like that. Master of Wounds for more damage over time, multiplier for bleeding. We've got Bloodless. I don't know that I wanted to come over here to Soul of Steel, but it's there. And then I took both Cleaving and Slaughter. And then on here, I got Bleeding. You inflict, deals damage 15% faster. For the Ascendancy, I went with Gratuitous Violence and Jagged Technique. Now, where I was going to go with this after that, and I'll kind of get into what I started to mention a minute ago. I think what I would do is, if I was going to continue forward with this, is War of Attrition and Weapon Master. I did try Shield and Single Axe. So the axe that I have now deals like 291 to 486 with a two-handed axe. I did try in one of the axe, a single-handed axe and a shield. And I actually went up into this. I didn't like it all that much. The damage went down considerably. I think I had like 7,000 damage, and it went to like 3,800 damage. Like, it went down considerably. So that one act, and I actually did the second lab run for this, and I backed out of it and came over here to Jagged Technique. But I ended up going into that, and I tried it for one act. It just didn't feel that good. Like, my damage was so much lower. What I have been considering with this, if I do continue forward with this Ascendancy, what I will do is either go to probably Bladestorm. I think I'll go to Bladestorm because I think this is the one that I liked. Yeah, so you can put this spinning wheel down here. I think I liked this a lot, and I would probably work into this one. I think that's how I want to go, and I might take Splitting Steel, move it over into here, and then 6-link Bladestorm, or 6-link Bladestorm, and kind of, I don't know. I need to work on that a lot more. I would probably back out of, I think the bleeding is probably fine, because Bladestorm does have bleeding on it, right? I think so. 86% more damage with bleeding while in Blood Stance. Does this cause bleeding? Bladestorm deals 50% less damage with hits and ailments, so maybe not. I don't know. Bloodstorms are stationary and cause bleeding. Yeah. So I might stick with this and go. I looked at Lacerate. I'm not a fan of Lacerate, to be honest with you. I don't know. It's just, I don't like that V-shaped motion. Oh, the other thing I should mention is I tried, when I was doing the shield-based part, I did try a retaliation skill. It's the one that shoots off as a V. I think it's Eviscerate or something like that. It shoots off as a V. The problem is, like, if you're fighting a monster here, the V goes out that direction and doesn't hit that monster or anything in this direction, and I kind of hated it. So you have to be like right up on top of it to get the single target to get hit with both of them. And I think that's where my problem with this lies, is it's not, I don't know, I'm not a fan of Lacerate. I think maybe if it was scaled up and went a little bit further, it might be good. What I would probably do is, I guess I could do a retaliation skill and maybe 6-link that, but it would have to be something that works with an axe by itself, so maybe the fist that smashes down or something. I don't know, I could go that direction. If I go axe or sword and shield, then I could take all the blocking stuff and maybe do a retaliate in there, 4-link or retaliate and move some of this other stuff. Like, this is just 3-linked, I could move that off. This is 3-linked, I could move that off. That would free up a 4-link for something. I don't know, there's a lot of things to go. This build is kind of where it's gonna be. I'm not feeling this anymore. I would probably burn down a chunk of this. I might stay in axes. I might go to swords. I need to see which one's better for... sword might be better, I think. I don't know. I'd have to test it. I have to do some testing. But that's kind of where I got this build. It is after the campaign. I just beat the campaign last night, so this is in mapping section. It's kind of fun. It's just stalled. When I say it's stalled out hard, I don't mean that it's like not fun to play. It's just that I'm dying so much, and I tried, I thought I had some ailment immunity that I needed to get, so I put Purity of Elements in here. Like, I had some things that I don't know, I tried to get rid of the projectile damage that I was taking with going with evasion type gear. Mixed in some armor because I thought I was taking damage from hits, but I'm just not quite happy with how this is turning out. It's just not landing anywhere that I think is, I don't know, where I want it to be. It's hard to explain, but I'm just not quite having as much fun with this as I did early on. Believe it or not, it wasn't bad through the campaign up to say through maybe Act 7. It started to get a little wonky. Like, I think I was doing enough damage to get around any defense issues that I had. I didn't really get stuck on any bosses. I keep forgetting I don't have a movement skill on my spacebar. But, you know, I have to move around. For as much damage as, and POB shows a decent amount of damage, for as much damage as this shows, like on the tooltip and in POB, I still have to kite around and shoot things a lot. Like, I don't know, I'm not getting stuns on things. I think that's where, like, the slam builds make up a lot is, you know, you stun things and they just don't attack you for a minute. Like, making things not hit you is a good defensive layer, or being able to evade and avoid things, which is kind of where the caustic arrow build was pretty good for a while. Like, I've got phase run on here, but I just don't feel like this. Evasion doesn't feel good on here. Armor doesn't feel good. I know I need more life. My resistance is like, nothing has really made this feel stellar. And even though it's got what I would call a decent chunk of damage, it's still, overall, the build doesn't feel all that great. Like, it just hit, dead. And I understand that life is probably a big factor in this, but I don't know, it's just kind of stalled out for me and I'm not feeling it. So I think this build, as far as splitting steel goes, is basically where it's going to stop. What I would do with this going forward is to focus on bleed and maybe do, like I said, lacerate or blade storm and see what I can do with those and kind of push that forward. So it's not going to go forward as splitting steel necessarily. I do have a stub out for champion, and I know splitting steel champ is, I think that's a fairly common build that's there. So the impales and all that would go over probably far better over there. So I'll probably take splitting steel and go over that direction on that side and see how that goes. For this one, I'll probably do something with one of these two skills. Probably going to be blade storm and see what I can do with it and see how this progresses forward. I've got 6 link here. I've got a 5 link. So I've got kind of a decent base. We've got, I don't know, some movement speed, some spell suppression. Like, the gear's not bad. And it's got what I would consider a decent base to start with. So I could probably go forward with it. Mainly yesterday, I just wanted to finish the campaign. I started looking at swapping over to Lacerate or Blade Storm during the campaign, like in the middle of Act 9. And my big brain mentality kicked in and I was like, all right, I can't do that. What I really need to do is focus on just finishing the campaign, getting through it. And I spent some time last night reworking all of this gear, putting all the implicits on it and everything. I've got some chaos res. Like, my resistances aren't bad. They're not great, but they're not bad. I know everything could be better, but I just don't think this is what I want to push forward with. So that's kind of where I've gotten to with this one. Don't know how much more I'm going to keep going with this one. I may go work on that champion build. I may go work on the cyclone build. I'm not sure where I'm going to go with from this point. I may continue forward with this. I just got through the campaign and I'm kind of just done with it. And I'm ready to move forward with something else. So at any rate, that is going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.